The void of space stretched endlessly, a dark canvas dotted with distant stars. Among them, a lone alien scout ship drifted, silent but tense. Inside, the crew moved quickly, their many eyes scanning holographic displays. They were the Zytrons, a proud species known for their sharp minds and careful strategies. Today, however, something unusual had appeared on their sensors, something that made even the bravest among them pause. "Commander Vale," hissed one of the junior officers, his voice tight with unease. "We have detected an unidentified vessel entering the sector. It's massive and unlike anything in our database." Vale, a tall figure with iridescent scales, leaned forward. His eyes, dark pools of calculation, studied the readings. The vessel was enormous, and its energy signature was strange, unlike the natural or artificial signals they were used to. Scan deeper, Vale ordered, "I want every detail. Its shape, its power output, every movement it makes." The crew obeyed, their tentacle-like fingers dancing across touchscreens. As the scans continued, a low hum of tension filled the control room. The vessel was not just large, it was advanced, way beyond anything the Zytrons had encountered. It's a warship," one of the officers finally whispered, almost afraid to speak. "But its technology, we've never seen anything like this." Vale's eyes narrowed. The Zytrons had explored hundreds of systems, encountered countless civilizations, and fought wars that spanned entire clusters of stars. Yet something about this human warship made him feel small, almost insignificant. "Prepare a message," Vale said, his voice steady but cold. "Send a warning. Tell the Council we may have found a species far stronger than we imagined." As the communication pulse shot into space, the warship moved closer. Slowly, deliberately, the Zytrons watched from their monitors as the vessel's outline became clearer. It was massive, armored, and sleek. Its edges glimmered with strange energy, and faint pulses radiated outward, touching the sensors like invisible fingers. One of the junior analysts gasped. "Commander, it's scanning us." Vale turned, anger flashing across his features. "Impossible. Our shield should mask everything." The screens confirmed what the officer had said. The warship emitted a pulse, a scan unlike any known technology. It analyzed every movement, every shield fluctuation, every signal from the Zytron ship. The crew froze, their many eyes wide with disbelief. "It knows our position, our strength, everything," whispered another officer, his voice trembling. We are exposed." Vale clenched his claws into fists. He had faced danger before, but this was different. Humans, as they called themselves, had somehow built a machine that could see through everything, anticipate moves, and react faster than any species in the galaxy. "Prepare the engines," Vale ordered. "We need to retreat and report this immediately." The alien ship shuddered as power flowed to the engines, but the human warship did not chase. It moved with precision, almost calmly. It was as if it understood, as if it wanted the Zytrons to see it, to feel its presence. "Commander, they are not attacking," said the analyst. "They are observing." Vale's eyes narrowed. Observing. That was more frightening than an attack. It meant the humans were studying them, learning their tactics, waiting for the right moment. Suddenly, the screens flickered. A faint, almost imperceptible glow appeared around the warship. The crew leaned closer, trying to understand. "It's deploying drones," one officer said, voice barely audible. Small, swift objects move around the ship, scanning, measuring, analyzing. Every detail of the Zytron vessel was being recorded. Vale felt a chill run through him. They had faced countless enemies, but nothing had ever made him feel this powerless. He realized that these humans were not just another species. They were a force of nature, unstoppable and unpredictable. A frantic signal came from the nearest outpost. The human warship had already been detected by others, and reports flooded in. Panic spread among the Zytron ranks. "They are too fast," another officer said. "Even our fastest interceptors could not match them." Vale turned to his crew. "We are witnessing history," he said, "or the end of our arrogance. We must report everything, every detail. The Council needs to understand what we are facing." But even as they spoke, the human warship did something unexpected. It paused, its massive form stationary in the void, as if waiting. The Zytrons could feel its presence in a way they had never experienced. It was silent, yet overwhelming. "Commander," one officer whispered, "they are watching us. They know what we're thinking." Vale did not answer immediately. He watched the sensors, noting every pulse, every shimmer of energy. Then he made a decision. "Prepare a detailed report," he said. "Include every scan, every reading. We must understand this technology. If we do not, we are finished." The crew worked frantically, compiling data, their movements precise but tense. They knew that any delay could be fatal. Outside the ship, the human warship remained still, almost regal, like a predator studying its prey. Hours passed. The Zytrons had sent their message, gathered all possible data, and still, the warship had not moved. It was as if it was demonstrating power, showing that it did not need to act aggressively to dominate. Finally, Vale addressed the crew. "This is only the beginning. What we have seen, it changes everything. The humans are not just another species. They are something else entirely." As the alien ship prepared to leave, Vale felt a deep unease. They had survived the encounter, but the memory of a human warship would haunt them. Every scale on his body shivered with the realization that the galaxy had changed, and their place within it was uncertain. In the distance, the human warship glimmered against the starlight. It did not pursue, it did not attack. Yet its mere presence was enough to make the Zytrons reconsider everything they knew about power, technology, and survival. Vale turned to his crew. "We must be cautious. Report to the Council, and tell every fleet to be on high alert. This is not just an encounter. It is a warning. We are not the top of the galaxy anymore." The alien ship began its slow retreat, engines humming with controlled speed. Behind them, the human warship remained motionless, a silent sentinel in the vast emptiness of space. The Zytrons did not look back, yet they could not forget. For Vale, one thought dominated every other. "We have seen the future, and it is human." And with that, the desperate call was sent across the galaxy, warning every Zytron that a new power had arrived, and no one would ever underestimate humans again. The Zytron fleet drifted quietly, trying to comprehend what they had just witnessed. Their commander, Vale, paced in the control room, his thoughts racing faster than the engines could propel their ships. The human warship they had encountered was unlike any threat or ally they had ever imagined. Its silence alone carried weight, a quiet power that spoke louder than any battle cry. "We have never seen technology like this." Vale muttered to his crew. "Every system, every design, it is beyond our understanding. And yet, it seems almost alive." The crew nodded, their many eyes reflecting the flickering lights of the monitors. Small drones continued to hover around the human vessel, invisible to the naked eye, but picked up clearly on the Zytron scanners. They moved with precision, almost intelligent coordination, analyzing every surface, every shield, every weak point of the alien ships. "It is scanning us," whispered one young officer. His voice trembled. "It is learning, adapting." Vale's jaw tightened. He had always believed the Zytrons were at the top of the galaxy's intelligence hierarchy. But now, that belief felt fragile, like glass under pressure. The human warship didn't need to attack. Its mere presence, its silent observation, was enough to make even seasoned officers doubt their abilities. "Bring the scans into main console," Vale ordered. "I want to see every reading, every energy fluctuation, every drone movement, every pulse. Nothing could be ignored." The crew worked frantically, screens filled with streams of data, but patterns began to emerge. The drones were not random. They moved with purpose. They didn't just observe, they learned. They anticipated Zytron maneuvers before they happened. And the more the aliens tried to hide or alter their signals, the more the drones adjusted. "Commander," said an officer, pointing to the main screen. "It is predicting our actions. Every move we consider, it seems to know in advance. Even our fastest evasive calculations are detected before execution." Vale felt a cold shiver crawl down his spine. "Impossible," he whispered. "No technology should be able to do that." Even the Council's most advanced battle systems, nothing comes close. Outside, the human warship maintained a serene, yet imposing presence. It was as if the vessel itself was conscious, aware of every detail, evaluating, judging. Even the Zytron's own sensors seemed inadequate, unable to capture the full magnitude of its design. Suddenly, one of the drones emitted a faint blue pulse. It passed harmlessly through the Zytron fleet, but the effect was immediate. Shields flickered, communications distorted, sensors confused. A wave of unease rippled through the alien ships. "They are testing us," said Vale quietly. "They are probing every system, every response." The aliens had faced countless enemies before, but none had attacked without firing a shot. None had studied, analyzed, and paralyzed without lifting a weapon. And now, the humans were doing just that, demonstrating dominance not with brute force, but with intelligence and precision. "Commander," said a junior officer, pointing at a holographic display. "The drones, they're recording everything. Our ship design, our shield configurations, even our defensive algorithms. It's memorizing everything." Vale felt a rising anger, but it was tempered by fear. The Zytrons had always prided themselves on strategy, on outthinking any opponent. But these humans, they were rewriting the rules of engagement before the first battle had even begun. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Vale ordered. "We must test how far they can see, how much they understand. Every crew member, every system, be ready." The alien fleet split into formation, attempting a series of maneuvers designed to confuse the human warship. Yet every time they shifted, the drones anticipated the move. Sensors flared, shields adjusted automatically, and human silent observation turned the alien strategy into an open book. "They see everything," muttered another officer, voice trembling. "They know our next step before we do." Vale took a deep breath. "We cannot fight what we cannot understand," he said. "But we can observe, learn, and survive. Focus on gathering every detail, every anomaly. Document it. Nothing can be wasted." Hours passed. The Zytrons, despite their panic and fear, began to notice small but significant patterns. The human warship was not chaotic. It was deliberate, and methodical. Every pulse, every movement, every scan was part of a plan so vast it was impossible to grasp fully. "Commander," said a technician, pointing at the drone movements. "They are categorizing us. Every ship, every weapon, even our behavioral patterns. Look here, it's creating a profile of our fleet in real time." Vale leaned over the console, eyes wide. He could hardly believe it. The humans were not just war-ready. They were capable of real-time analysis, learning, and strategy that could outmatch the Zytrons at every turn. "This is revolutionary," he whispered. "Or terrifying." The alien ships attempted one final maneuver, a coordinated burst meant to confuse a human warship and escape its observation. The drones moved almost imperceptibly at first, then responded with immediate precision, countering every move before it was even executed. The alien fleet had hoped to test the humans' limits, but instead they confirmed one terrifying truth. There were none. Vale felt a knot tighten in his chest. "Prepare a status report," he ordered. "Everything we have learned must go to the Council. They need to understand what we are facing." Even as the Zytrons compiled their findings, the human warship remained calm, almost indifferent. It hovered in the void, observing, learning, silent yet absolute in its power. It had not fired a shot, had not moved aggressively, and yet it dominated the entire scene without effort. "Commander, what are they?" asked one officer quietly. "Are they soldiers? Machines? Gods?" Vale did not answer. There was no easy answer. The humans were all of those things and none at the same time. They were unpredictable, advanced, and utterly dominating, yet completely silent. It was as if the very presence of their warship was a warning, a message written in steel and energy. "We are here, and you are not ready." As the hours turned into what felt like days, the Zytrons began to retreat, not out of fear alone, but out of necessity. They had learned more than they could have imagined, but the more they learned, the more powerless they felt. Vale watched the human warship slowly fade into the distance. Its outline shimmered against distant starlight, and for a moment, it seemed almost alive. The sense of awe was overwhelming. "This is only the beginning," Vale said softly, almost to himself. "If this is their first encounter, then the galaxy will never be the same again." The fleet moved away, engines humming, sensors strained, and hearts heavy. Every officer knew one thing. The humans had shown them what true power looked like, and it was unlike anything the Zytrons had ever faced. Vale turned to his crew, determination replacing fear. "We survived this encounter," he said, "but we cannot be complacent. Document every detail, analyze every pulse, prepare every report. The Council must know the truth. Humanity is no ordinary species. They are something far beyond comprehension." Outside the alien ships, the human warship remained a silent sentinel, not attacking, not fleeing, just existing. And in its quiet observation lay a lesson more powerful than any weapon. Intelligence, precision, and presence could dominate without firing a single shot. Vale knew one truth that would linger in his mind forever. The humans had arrived, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The Zytron fleet drifted in nervous formation, still shaken by the intelligence of the human warship. Commander Vale sat in the bridge, claws tapping nervously against the control panel. He had always believed in strategy, discipline, and preparation, yet nothing in the Zytron archives or simulations had prepared him for this. "Commander," said an officer, eyes wide with fear, "we are receiving unusual energy readings from the warship. It's charging something." Vale's heart skipped a beat. "Charging," he repeated, his voice steady but cold. "Explain." The technician pointed to the display. A faint blue glow was forming around the warship. Energy pulses shimmered across its hull, spreading in arcs that reached far beyond the vessel itself. The entire fleet felt a subtle vibration, something that was not sound but pressure in space itself. "They're preparing an attack," said a junior officer, trembling. "But it's unlike anything we've seen. Not destructive, not exactly, but it's controlling us." Vale's eyes narrowed. He had studied countless alien combat tactics, anticipated thousands of enemy maneuvers, but this was a new level of warfare. The warship did not aim to destroy. They were immobilizing, observing, and dominating simultaneously. Suddenly, a soft pulse radiated outward from a human warship. Every Zytron ship shuddered as systems flickered. Engines, shields, and sensors glitched, momentarily paralyzing the fleet. Alien officers gasped as they tried to regain control. "It's a non-lethal energy wave," said Vale, his voice tense. "But it freezes systems. We cannot move. We cannot respond. It's predicting everything we do." The crew stared at the monitors in disbelief. The human warship had achieved the impossible. It had rendered the Zytron fleet powerless without firing a single destructive shot. Every calculation, every command, was anticipated and countered before execution. One officer whispered, voice trembling, "Commander, we are sitting ducks, and they haven't even attacked yet." Vale clenched his claws, forcing himself to stay calm. Panic would only make mistakes worse. "Focus on observation," he said firmly. "Document everything. Every pulse, every movement. This is a tactical goldmine. If we survive, we must learn from it." The human warship's drones now moved faster, surrounding the Zytron fleet in a precise formation. They scanned every hull, every shield, every weapon system. The humans' tactics were beyond comprehension, seamless, fluid, and unerring. Suddenly, one of the drones emitted a bright flash. It was not harmful, but it revealed weaknesses in the Zytron formation. Ships tried to reposition, but every movement was predicted, blocked, and logged. The aliens realized with growing horror that they were being studied like lab specimens. "They are learning," muttered an officer. "Each maneuver we try, they adapt immediately. Every action we take is being copied, analyzed, cataloged." Vale's mind raced. He had fought wars across multiple sectors, faced enemies with advanced psychic abilities, with weapons that could obliterate planets, but he had never faced an opponent that could dominate purely through intelligence and foresight. The humans were a force unlike any other, a combination of technology, strategy, and sheer unpredictability. Suddenly, the warship fired another pulse. This time, it was more powerful. Engines faltered, shields flickered, and systems glitched across the fleet. The aliens realized that even resistance would be futile. Every attempt to escape or counter was anticipated before it happened. Vale's claws tightened. "They are testing our limits," he said grimly. "We cannot fight them head-on. This is not a battle. It is a demonstration of power." The aliens watched in frozen awe as a human warship hovered in perfect stillness, almost calm in the void. It did not chase. It did not fire traditional weapons. And yet, the effect on the Zytron fleet was complete. Paralyzed, analyzed, and dominated without a single destructive strike. One officer finally whispered the truth that no one wanted to admit. We are outmatched. Completely. Vale's mind raced. He needed a plan, and he planned. But the more he studied the warship, the more impossible it seemed. Every defensive move they tried, every evasive maneuver, was countered before it could even begin. The human strategy was not just superior. It was perfect, a flawless orchestration of anticipation and precision. "They are not here to destroy us," Vale realized, his voice quiet but sharp. "They are here to show us how powerless we are." The Zytrons had faced countless enemies who had tried to intimidate or destroy them, but none had demonstrated dominance without violence. None had made them question their very place in the galaxy. The humans had done both. Hours passed. The Zytrons struggled to regain control of their systems, but every attempt was blocked, anticipated, and logged. The humans' warship seemed to exist on a higher plane of awareness, a predator studying its prey with flawless efficiency. Vale turned to his crew. "We must survive this encounter," he said firmly. "Document everything. Every pulse, every drone, every reaction. We must understand them, or we will never have a chance again." Even as the Zytrons worked, the warship's drones began deploying small probes around their fleet. These probes were not weapons. They were analytical tools, measuring, recording, and predicting. The aliens realized with cold shock that the humans were preparing for something far beyond combat. They were gathering data for future encounters, ensuring they would always have the upper hand. One officer gasped, "Commander, they are learning our entire battle structure. Every formation, every response, every weakness is being copied. Soon we will have no secrets left." Vale nodded grimly. "That is why we must retreat, carefully. We cannot fight them yet, but we must observe, and we must prepare." The human warship did not pursue. It remained silent, hovering, almost regal, as if granting the Zytrons a mercy of survival. Yet its presence was a constant, crushing reminder. The humans were beyond the galaxy's understanding, and underestimating them would be fatal. Vale knew one undeniable truth. The humans had the power not just to destroy, but to dominate intellectually and strategically. They had struck without firing a weapon. They had paralyzed without violence. And in doing so, they had left an indelible mark on every Zytron mind. "We survived, but only barely," Vale said to his crew. "The humans are not like anyone we have faced. They are beyond comprehension. And if we encounter them again, we must be ready, or we will be erased." As the Zytron fleet slowly moved away, the human warship remained in the distance, calm, silent, and deadly. The crew could not understand it fully, but they could feel its power in a way that went beyond sensors or shields. It was a presence, a statement, a warning. Humans had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. Vale's final order was clear. Report everything to the Council. Every reading, every movement, every reaction. Humanity is no ordinary species. We have seen the future, and it is human. Even as the fleet retreated, the memory of the unexpected strike, the paralyzing analytical and intelligent demonstration of power, remained burned into every Zytron mind. They had survived, but they knew one truth above all. The humans had redefined the meaning of strength, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The Zytron fleet drifted silently through the dark expanse of space. Commander Vale sat in the bridge, staring at the fading silhouette of the human warship. Its massive form had vanished from their sensors, but its presence lingered in every thought, every nerve, every scale on his body. It was not just a memory. It was a warning. "Commander," one of his officers said quietly, "they are gone. The warship is gone." Vale did not immediately respond. He felt a strange emptiness, as if a weight had been lifted and yet pressed upon him at the same time. "Gone," he finally said, his voice low. "No, they are still here." The officer frowned. "What do you mean?" Vale leaned forward, his eyes dark with thought. "Every system, every response, every instinct we have, it has changed. They have shown us something. Not just power, but a level of intelligence and strategy we cannot match. Even gone, their lesson remains." Across the fleet, other officers whispered similar sentiments. Some were still in shock, unable to fully comprehend what they had experienced. Others felt fear, raw and unshakable, creeping into their thoughts like a cold shadow. "They didn't attack," another officer said. "Not in the way we expected. And yet we feel weaker, helpless, exposed." Vale nodded slowly. He had seen the same effect ripple through his crew. The humans had not needed weapons to dominate. They had not fired missiles, lasers, or bombs. And yet, in their calm observation, their precise drones, their unmatched strategy, they had left the Zytrons feeling powerless. "They taught us a lesson," Vale said quietly. "Not by destruction, but by understanding. By showing us what true mastery looks like." The fleet continued moving, retreating towards safer space. Every officer was silent, their minds replaying the encounter over and over. Every detail of the human warship, every drone, every pulse, every scan was etched into their memory. Vale addressed the bridge again. "Report everything to the Council. Document every movement, every energy signature, every anomaly. This is not just an encounter, it is a revelation. Humanity has arrived, and we are unprepared." The transmission went out across the galaxy. It carried not just data, but fear, awe, and the truth that the Zytrons had learned in the shadows of the human warship. For the first time, a species had shown them that power was more than weapons or numbers. It was intelligence, anticipation, and control. As the fleet moved, Vale reflected on what had happened. The humans had been calm, almost indifferent. They had not chased or attacked. They had merely observed, analyzed, and, in doing so, revealed the limits of the Zytrons' power. "They are not just a threat," Vale muttered to himself. "They are a force of nature, one we cannot predict, cannot fully understand. And yet, we must survive. We must adapt." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. The void of space no longer seemed empty. It seemed alive with possibility and danger. Vale knew that this encounter was only the beginning. The humans would move through the galaxy, encountering other species, other fleets, and leaving the same impression they had left on the Zytrons: intelligence, mastery, and inevitability. "Commander," one officer said, breaking the silence, "what do we do now? How do we prepare for them?" Vale's eyes hardened. "We watch, we learn, and we adapt. But we do not fight them, not yet. Humanity has shown us the future of warfare, the future of power. And in that future, we are not the top, not anymore." The fleet entered a quieter sector of space, giving themselves time to recover, to process, to understand. But even in the calm, the memory of a human warship haunted them. It was not just its size or its weapons or its drones. It was a mastery it represented, the unspoken knowledge that they were now dealing with a species beyond reckoning. "They are the standard now," Vale said quietly, almost himself. "Every species we encounter, every fleet we command, we will measure them against the humans, and we will always fall short." The officers shivered at his words, the truth undeniable. They had faced countless enemies, conquered worlds, and survived wars that spanned clusters of stars. But nothing had prepared them for this. Humans were not just another species. They were the new benchmark, a force that redefined strength, strategy, and presence in the galaxy. Vale leaned back in his command chair. "We must ensure that every fleet, every system, every council member understand this. Humanity is not a threat we can defeat in a traditional sense. They are inevitable." The stars outside the viewport shimmered, distant and cold. But in their glow, Vale could almost see the human warship moving, silent and patient, observing the galaxy with a level of awareness no Zytron could match. Hours turned to days. The fleet repaired minor damages, recalibrated systems, and shared reports. But the fear, awe and respect for what they had seen lingered. Every conversation, every report, every calculation referenced humans. They were the invisible force now guiding every decision, every strategy, every precaution. One officer finally broke the silence. "Commander, do you think they'll return?" Vale did not answer immediately. He stared at the stars, the endless void that now seemed full of possibility. "Yes," he said finally. "And when they do, we will remember today. We will remember what it felt like to face them. And we will know the cost of underestimating humanity." The fleet moved deeper into uncharted space, carrying not just reports, but new understanding, a new respect, and a new fear. Humanity had arrived, and with them, the rules of the galaxy had changed forever. Vale closed his eyes for a moment. The lesson was clear. Survival would require more than strength. It would require intelligence, adaptation, and the willingness to recognize that some forces were beyond comprehension. As the stars stretched endlessly before them, the Zytrons realized that their first encounter with humans had done more than intimidate. It had changed them forever. Every fleet, every council, every officer would now carry the memory of the human warship, a silent sentinel that had shown them what true power could look like. And in the quiet of space, Commander Vale understood the ultimate truth. Humans had not come to war. They had come to redefine the galaxy, and every species, every fleet, every mind would feel the weight of that lesson for centuries to come.